In my previous life, my elder sister resolutely dropped out of school and decided to have a child for a wealthy second minus generation. However, the good times didn't last long. The wealthy second minus generation went bankrupt and was burdened with debts. Meanwhile, I started a business together with the excellent and poor student from high school. We established a company. And our lives were getting better and better. After graduating from university, my boyfriend and I got married. As a result, my envious elder sister set her sights on my husband. Sure enough, he couldn't resist the temptation. In order not to divide the property with me, he even conspired with my sister to create an accident and kill me. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the high school era together with my sister. She took my mother's hand, with a firm and sincere look in her eyes. "Mom, I want to go back to school." It turned out that she wanted to abort the child and take the lead in falling in love with my husband. What a rotten person. I quickly packed up my desk and gave it to her. When I opened my eyes again, my mother was sitting on the ground crying bitterly. And my father, who was sitting on the sofa, also had a worried look on his face. "Eva, you're not allowed to go. You're only in your senior year of high school. How can you drop out to have a child for a man? You should think about your future. Honey, your father and I won't harm you. Listen to your mother and go to school obediently. Okay?" Ava across from us looked impatient. "Mom, my boyfriend is a wealthy second minus generation. Even if I don't go to school, I don't have to worry about food and clothing. I'll be a pampered rich lady in the future. Those who have graduated from university may not necessarily marry better than me. Can you stop blocking my future and ruining my good deed? Anyway, having fulfilled what I'd say, I'm determined to give birth to this child for him. Don't try to persuade me. You and Dad." As she spoke, Eva touched her belly, and a gentle smile appeared on her face. But why does the scene in front of me look so familiar? This is the day when Eva left home for love and severed ties with our parents. Looking at the date on my phone screen, I realized that I had been reborn. Just as I was lost in thought, a bright red apple suddenly came flying towards me and landed at my feet. "TSK. Mom, can you stop crying? Look, your bookish daughter is still sitting there. For studying, she's enough." Hearing Ava's voice, the suffocating feeling of the seawater rushing in, which I remembered from my previous life, came over me again. In my previous life, her wealthy second minus generation husband, Ryan, went bankrupt when their child was 3 years old and was burned and with a large amount of debt. Since then, her pampered life was gone forever. In order to make a comeback, Ryan borrowed a large sum of money to start a business again. Unfortunately, having failed due to his lack of ability, that money was quickly wasted. Repeated failures made Ryan depressed, and he developed a drinking problem. Every time he got drunk, Ava would be beaten violently. As for me, since I started university, I have been starting a business with Leo, the excellent and poor student from high school. We partnered to open an E-commerce company. And our lives were getting better and better. The year I graduated from university, Leo and I got married. At the same time, in order to help Ava, I found her a position in my company. But unexpectedly, she set her sights on her own brother minus and minus law. And Leo, who always boasted of his loyalty, couldn't resist the temptation and had an affair with Ava. In order to annex my property, they even deliberately took me to swim by the seaside. In the end, a strong offshore current swept me away. Just as I was on the verge of death, with salty seawater filling my mouth and nose, I saw the smug smiles on their faces. All of this was something I learned after I died and became a wronged soul floating beside Leo. I never expected that the man I had loved for 5 years would want to kill me. But not long after, Ryan discovered Ava and Leo's affair. He was furious and stabbed Ava to death on a stormy night. At the moment she closed her eyes, she seemed to have seen my soul, and the unwillingness and anger in her eyes were deeply imprinted in my mind. I knew that she was unwilling because she didn't have time to enjoy the life of wealth and luxury. She had finally managed to get rid of me. But why was she killed? My mother's crying and my father's sighs were still ringing in my ears. Just as I looked up at Ava, she suddenly gave me a meaningful look. The next second, she smiled and took my mother's hand, with a firm and sincere look in her eyes. Mom, I want to go back to school. Ada's abnormal behavior could only mean one thing. That is, she was also reborn. My mother, seeing her beloved eldest daughter come to her senses, stopped crying and smiled. Baby, Eva out a low sigh. It's good that you thought it through. It's good that you thought it through. Mom, my foundation is not good. Can you let me repeat the second year of high school? I want to be in the same class as my sister. As she spoke, Ava cast a provocative and triumphant look at me. It seemed that she wanted to take advantage of the close proximity to win over Leo. This promising stock. In advance. I sneered inwardly. Idiot. Even if you live another life, you will never be able to live a life of wealth and luxury. But since she has this plan, then I wish her all the best. After all, I find that kind of man who is rotten to the core disgusting. Learning that Ava had finally focused on her studies, my parents were overjoyed and would have picked the stars from the sky for her if they could. Soon, without a low sigh, they made connections and arranged for Ava to be in our class. Ava had an abortion and broke up with her wealthy second-generation boyfriend without hesitation. At the moment, in her eyes, both I and Ryan were stumbling blocks to her becoming a rich lady. Scarlett, this time I will take away everything you have. Your man, your wealth, and your status. Ava leaned close to my ear, with a triumphant and sinister smile on her lips. I couldn't help but snort coldly. Then come and take it. Sure enough, Ava was so angry by my provocation that her face turned red. Just you wait and see. Don't you dare cry. Ava was wearing a white dress and was strutting around in front of me like an arrogant white peacock. Since I was a child, I had been introverted and not good at speaking, while Ava was confident and sweet minus talking. She could easily win the favor of others. Therefore, my parents have always favored Ava since we were children. No matter what happened, they always sided with Ava. Just like in my previous life. Leo kissed in the kitchen behind my back, after being caught by my mother. Instead of criticizing and educating Ava, my mother hid it from me and tried to gloss over the matter. And my husband, who had been in love with me for 5 years, was also easily seduced by her. So, in front of me, Ava always had the capital to be proud. But at that time, she only saw the bright and glorious side of Leo and didn't know that everything behind it was supported by me. In this new life, I'm not sure if she can catch up with Leo, but I'm sure she will never become a rich lady. As soon as Ava appeared, it caused the male classmates in the class to whisper. Finally, head until liad sigh. A beauty has come to our class. Black hair and a white dress. With big and round eyes. This is my ideal type. What are you thinking? With your appearance, how could that beauty take a liking to you? Sigh. Can't I just feast my eyes? Damn. The beauty is looking at me. This is not surprising. Ava is good minus looking and knows how to dress. She can attract the attention of men more than us high school students who are haggard and only know how to study hard. But so what? Instead of luring them with my beauty, I want to defeat them with my strength. Student Ava, please come and introduce yourself. The teacher said gently and with a smile, and handed the podium to Ava. Hello, everyone. My name is Ava. I'm very glad to come to science class too. In the days to come, please give me your guidance. My foundation is not good. I hope you won't mind if I hold you back. Of course. I will also work hard. Ava showed a cute expression and, looking at me, added another sentence. Oh, by the way, having fulfilled wide sigh. The top student in our class, Scarlett, is my younger sister. If you dare to bully her, I won't let you off. In an instant, these words set off a stir in the class. Damn. Ava is so beautiful. And Scarlett is so plain. How could they be real sisters? Maybe all the good genes were inherited by the elder sister. What does she mean by that? Have we ever bullied Scarlett? Could it be that Scarlett went home and told lies and made up stories? I thought Scarlett was honest and kind. Eva's words not only set off her righteousness from the side but also plunged me into the whirlpool of public opinion. But this time, I don't want to be a coward anymore. Under the gaze of the whole class, I stood up and looked straight at Eva on the podium. Sister, what you said is really interesting. I've never said that my classmates in the class have bullied me. Instead, you, my own sister, have bullied me a lot behind my back. What's wrong? Do you want to be a good sister now? As I spoke, I rolled up my sleeves and showed the blue and purple marks on my arms. The next second, all the classmates in the class showed shocked looks. Seeing that she couldn't control the situation, the teacher quickly asked Eva to step down from the podium. When passing by my seat, Eva gave me a fierce look. But when she saw Leo beside me, she immediately showed a sweet smile. However, Leo at the moment didn't look at her. Instead, he kept staring at the marks on my arm. Does it hurt? He has a pair of clear eyes. At the moment, the pity in his eyes is as obvious as a transparent mirror. But so what? In the end, he would still disregard my life for his own selfish desires. I didn't answer his question directly. Instead, I pulled down my sleeve, blocking his sight. After a long time, I said coldly, "It's time for class. Stop looking at me." After class, Eva blocked me at the stairs. Scarlett. So what if you exposed me? Anyway, hadn't so and say. I don't care about the looks of those people. I only care about your little desk mate. However, he will be mine soon. The next morning, I finally understood what Eva meant by those words. It turned out that under the pretext of studying, she wanted Leo to be her desk mate. The teacher looked at me in a dilemma. Scarlett, do you agree? As a top student in the class, the teacher naturally gave me some consideration and asked for my opinion. Eva looked at me triumphantly, as if she was sure of getting everything. Only Leo pitifully tugged at my sleeve. Scarlett, can we not change? I only want to be your desk mate. I know that he had a bit of a crush on me at this time, because I was friendly to him and never looked at the worn-out white cloth shoes on his feet with the strange looks that other classmates did. In front of me, he didn't have to feel inferior. Instead, he would receive my encouragement and praise. On the day of our high school graduation, he confessed to me, saying that I was the sun in his high school days, bringing him warmth and light. At that time, I was deeply moved by his sincerity. But at the moment, I didn't feel the slightest bit of pity for his pleading. I showed the teacher a generous and decent smile. Teacher, I agree. Since student Eva is so eager to learn, how could I not fulfill her wish? Facing my magnanimity, the teacher also let out a sigh of relief. Scarlett. Why? Didn't you say you only wanted to be my desk mate? Why are you going back on your word? There was confusion and a hint of anger on Leo's face. In my previous life, he also said that he would love me for the rest of his life at our wedding. But what was the result? His promise turned into a bubble. And the so-called lifetime he talked about only lasted for a year. Up to now, only the one who foolishly believes in promises is the fool. Leo. This is the teacher's arrangement. I have no choice. I pretended to sigh helplessly. There was a look of reluctance in my eyes. But my actions didn't hesitate at all. The next second, I dragged my desk away from its original position. Out of the corner of my eye, Leo clenched his fists tightly, and his black calm and minus-shaped eyes were full of reluctance. Compared with the reluctant Leo, Eva couldn't wait to stick to him like a lapdog. Leo, I'll be your new desk mate from now on. If I have any questions I don't understand, can I ask you? Eva blinked her big eyes and spoke in a sweet voice, which made people feel soft-hearted when they heard it. The male classmates beside them cast envious glances at Leo. He avoided her gaze very unhappily and slammed the textbook in his hand heavily on the desk. Eva's eyes were immediately filled with grievance stares. When I was about to find a seat to sit down in the cafeteria, Leo suddenly blocked my way. His brows were slightly furrowed, and his tone was a bit aggrieved. Why didn't you ask me to have a meal together? Just because we're not desk mates anymore, we won't have any contact? Leo and I had been desk mates for a year and had also eaten together for a year. His family was in a poor situation, and he always chose the cheapest set meal. Looking at his thin face and arms, I couldn't bear it. So I took the initiative to offer to have lunch with him. I knew that he had strong self-esteem and definitely wouldn't accept my kindness directly. So every time, I would deliberately order all kinds of meat dishes. Using the excuse that I had a small appetite, I could openly ask Leo to help me finish most of the food. Through a year of hard work, Leo became much stronger and was no longer the skinny and weak person he used to be. But after I died, I learned that he actually regarded my kindness as charity. My kindness made him unable to hold his head up in front of me forever. While Ava's blatant admiration and flattery satisfied his vanity, he really didn't know how to appreciate others' kindness. I smiled and my eyes fell on Ava behind him. "Isn't there someone to have a meal with you?" I didn't ask her to come. I was too lazy to deal with his answer and just found a seat to sit down. Leo followed me and found a nearby seat, while Ava sat beside him. During the meal, his eyes would fall on me from time to time, and he didn't touch the food that Ava picked for him at all. For this reason, Ava wanted to tear me to pieces. After the meal, she came to me angrily to settle the score. "Scarlett, you agreed to change the seat. You just want to play hard to get to attract Leo's attention. Why didn't I realize you were so scheming before?" I was too lazy to argue with her. "Think whatever you want." After that day, Leo would talk to me from time to time and would also wordlessly follow me to the cafeteria. Every time this happened, Ava would look at me with a resentful look. However, this situation probably lasted for a week, and Leo never took the initiative to find me again. On the contrary, every time I met him, he would always frown and look at me meaningfully. I also saw Ava's schadenfreude in my eyes. It seemed that she had added fuel to the fire and said a lot of bad things about me in front of Leo. However, Ava has actually done me a big favor. After all, I have long wanted Leo to get out of my world. In this life, I just hope that the two of them stay as far away from me as possible. During the physical education class in the afternoon, for no apparent reason, my body suddenly went weak, my eyes went dark, and I suddenly fell down. In the last second before I closed my eyes, a familiar figure rushed towards me. "Scarlett." When I woke up again, I was already lying on the sickbed in the school infirmary. "You're finally awake. Do you still feel dizzy?" Leo leaned close to me, and the worry on his face was obvious. I frowned in confusion. Didn't he believe Ava's words? Why was he still concerned about me? Because he was too close. I pushed his shoulder uncomfortably. He also seemed to realize that he had overstepped the mark, and his entire face turned red all of a sudden. I suddenly thought of our first kiss. On the night of graduation, we both drank alcohol. But at that time, we were too young and innocent. It was just a fleeting kiss, and both of our ears turned red. Thinking of the past, the annoyance and hatred in my heart suddenly emerged like bamboo shoots breaking to the ground in spring. My face instantly turned cold. "I'm fine now. You can leave." But Leo didn't give up. "Scarlett, is there some misunderstanding between you and Ava? I've been getting along with Ava for more than 2 weeks. And I don't think she's a bad person. You are sisters. There's no need to be so confrontational." Hearing Leo's brazen words, I wasn't surprised at all why he was seduced by Ava in less than a month in my previous life. Some people are just self-righteous and always think they can see through everyone. Some people also like to act as teachers, always thinking that their opinions can point the way for others. And Leo is a conceited person to the core. "Leo, this has nothing to do with you, right? If you want to support Ava, there's really no need. I disdain to compete with her. She has never been my match." Leo let out a sigh. "Scarlett, I'm just concerned about you. And you don't have to be so defensive. It's not Ava's fault that your parents are partial. You don't have to target her everywhere." Looking at Leo's familiar face, I felt an unusual sense of strangeness at the moment. Well, I have never really known him. Heh. What stance are you taking to criticize me? As boyfriend? Unfortunately, having fulfilled my upset. No matter what your identity is. You are not qualified. Instead of trying to persuade me, you might as well have a good time with Ava. I can see that she likes you very much. And you seem to care about her too. A top student and a beautiful girl. Why don't they make a good match? Perhaps the sarcasm in my eyes was too obvious. And Leo suddenly became agitated. Scarlett. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. I'm just trying to ease the relationship between you sisters as a good friend. Why do you have to be so sarcastic? Oh. Then thank you. However, I don't need your kindness. And I'm not short of friends. You're really unreasonable. Then take care and don't let the door hit you on the way out. Remember to close the door properly. Leo was finally driven away by my words. With his strong self-esteem, he definitely wouldn't appear in front of me again. 5 days later, a rumor suddenly spread in the class that Leo liked me. The reason was that he carried me to the infirmary with his own hands in front of a group of classmates that day. But before I could refute the rumor, Leo stood up. Dear classmates. Don't get me wrong. Student Scarlett and I are just former desk mates with a pure relationship. I was just acting out of humanitarianness at that time. Not out of personal feelings. I hope everyone won't spread false rumors anymore. After he finished speaking, the whole class fell silent. Out of the corner of my eye, those gazes filled with sympathy or sighs landed on me in a disorderly manner. I knew the meaning in their eyes. Leo and I had a very good relationship before. But when a confident and flamboyant beauty appeared in front of him, what was I? His excellent former desk mate? Wasn't I easily abandoned? Ava not far away had red eyes and showed an admiring expression towards Leo, who had the courage to clarify the rumor. Facing such a passionate gaze, Leo beside her also blushed. And the corner of his mouth involuntarily curled into an imperceptible arc. But I had no intention of watching their act. So I had to bury my head in doing the exercises. Feelings can change. But knowledge won't betray me. After class, Ava followed me to the restroom. Scarlett. I told you that Leo would be mine. Now do you believe it? You worked so hard to protect his self-esteem and helped him pick food for a year. But with just a few sweet words from me, he was completely bewitched. You have to admit that you're a failure. I glanced at her inferently. Have you ever heard that what can be stolen is not a good thing? Come on. You're just being stubborn. After she finished speaking, Eva suddenly turned on the faucet, scooped up a handful of water, and poured it over her head. Then, let out a low sigh. She burst into tears and cried out. Scarlett. I know you like Leo. But he doesn't like you. How can you blame me? Soon, let out a low sigh. The restroom was surrounded by classmates eager to watch the show. With red eyes. Ava's tearful appearance quickly aroused everyone's sympathy. And most of the gazes directed at me were filled with contempt and disgust. Seeing this, Ada continued to act. Scarlett. Since you like Leo, I'll have less contact with him. As an elder sister, I won't snatch the man you care about. I don't know who tipped him off. But soon, Leo turned into a heroic figure of justice and stood in front of Ava to support her. He stared at me fiercely. And a chilling coldness flashed in his eyes. Scarlett. I don't like you. Why are you taking your anger out on Ava? No wonder she said you're sensitive and have a bad temper. Now it seems that she's completely right. I used to think you were considerate and kind. But now it seems that I misjudged you. While Leo was chattering on, I turned around and entered the restroom. I picked up a small bucket of water and poured it over him and Ava. The moment the bucket of water fell, there was a gasp from the scene. Leo and Ava were like two embarrassed drowned rats, looking at me in disbelief. Two crazy dogs. Are you calm now? Leo had a low sigh. When did I ever say I liked you? Did you hear it in your dream? Last week. You were the one who kept pestering me. Since I didn't show you a good face. You're feeling offended now. Right? And you, my dear sister Ava. If you want to frame me, please don't pour water on yourself next time. It would be better to stab yourself with a knife. That would be more convincing. Since so many classmates are watching, I'll make it clear today. You two better not act cheaply in front of me in the future. Otherwise, It won't be as simple as pouring water next time. Ava didn't expect me to expose her little thoughts directly. Her face turned pale and then red, so she had to pretend to be weak and cowered in Leo's arms tremblingly. The result of this incident was that the three of us were called into the teacher's office. But because I had good grades and had never violated any discipline, the teacher only criticized me symbolically. And the matter came to an end. Seeing that I didn't get any punishment, Ava told my mother about this matter. But so what? When I found out that she had concealed the affair between Ava and Leo, I had already stopped considering her as my mother. Any of her words and actions couldn't hurt me. The days in high school were urgent and flew by quickly. And soon the senior year of high school arrived. Not long after the start of the school term, the news that Ava and Leo were in love spread. Even so, the two of them didn't shy away at all. Instead, they openly showed their affection during the break. Their figures hugging and kissing could be seen on the playground, in the empty classrooms, and in the small woods. But time is fair. When you spend more time in love, your grades will teach you to face reality. In the first monthly exam of the senior year, Leo dropped from the top 3 in the class to the 10th place. And I rose from the original 5th place to the 2nd place in the class. As for Ava, she always performed steadily and remained at the bottom of the class. After the teacher learned about their puppy love, he informed the parents of both sides. Leo grew up in a single-parent family. When he was in primary school, his father cheated on his mother and abandoned his family. His mother raised him by selling fried rice with eggs. At the door of the office, when I saw that simply dressed and worried-looking mother, I still felt a bit emotional. When I got home, my mother was sitting on the sofa, sighing at Ava in front of her. Ava, at a low sigh. It's fine if you don't study hard. But why are you having a puppy love? Moreover, you used to at least find a wealthy second generation. Why has your taste become so bad now that you found a poor guy who is good for nothing? When I was in love with Leo, she also disliked him like this. It was only later, after we succeeded in starting a business, that my mother changed her previous disdain and kept saying good son and law all day long. Mom, believe me, Leo is a top student. And he will definitely achieve something in the future. But my mother still didn't believe it. But he only ranked 10th in the class in this exam. Your sister is 2nd in the class. I can't see where he will achieve something. Anyway, having fulfilled my obsession, believe me, he's a promising stock. After he goes to university, I'll start a business and open a company with him. When your daughter and son in law become successful, I will definitely make you a lady that everyone envies. Ava knew how to make empty promises and how to coax people. Soon, head out a low sigh. My mother was coaxed into a good mood. The moment they saw me, the expressions on the faces of the mother and daughter froze one after another. Since I poured water on Ava last semester and she demanded that I apologize to her, and I refused to do so at all costs. I have been in a long-lasting cold war with her. After being reborn, I have seen many things clearly. I stopped begging for my parents' love. After all, some things can't be exchanged even with hard work. No matter how sensible or excellent I am, in her heart, Ava will always be more important than me. After being informed by the parents, Leo and Ava didn't show any signs of restraint at all and still showed their affection high-profile lie. The two of them often sneaked out during the self-study class and only came back shortly before the class ended. Every time they came back, their faces showed an unusual flush. In the 3rd monthly exam, Leo's grades dropped sharply to the 20th place in the class. Although he was worried, with his dear girlfriend beside him making empty promises and comforting him, he quickly got out of the sense of crisis. At this time, a much-admired couple of a top student and a beautiful girl began to become the laughingstock of the whole class. And without their interference, I won the 1st place in the class for 2 consecutive times and ranked 3rd in the grade. After Ryan learned that Ava was in a relationship, he felt that he had been played by her. Ava had repeatedly claimed that she was studying hard and was afraid that her future would be affected. But soon she found a new love. Of course, Ryan, who had been dumped, was not convinced. One afternoon, Ryan asked someone to stop Ava and Leo at the school gate. As a result, the group of 5 people was taken to the police station. Leo's right hand was broken, but he used the compensation money to buy high-maintenance and cosmetics to please Ava. It's really crazy. He didn't show any understanding for his mother, who worked from dawn to dusk, can date the simplest meals every day. But he was willing to spend money to please someone who dragged him into the abyss. Ava also showed off her love with Leo in front of me from time to time, counting the days and fantasizing about becoming Mrs. Leo that others talked about as soon as possible. 7.5 years later, the college entrance examination in June arrived as scheduled. The efforts of a year and a half finally turned into 2 days of writing vigorously. The moment I finished the exam, I was confident that I would be admitted to the university I attended in my previous life, Harvard. But Leo seemed to be very troubled, with a gloomy expression on his face. In the last mock exam before the college entrance examination, his score hit a new low in history, barely reaching the first batch admission line of the previous year. "Scarlett, how did you do in the exam?" We hadn't talked for a long time, and both of us felt a bit awkward. I looked at him and smiled calmly. "I should have done better than you." "Yeah. I definitely can't get into Harvard." Leo smiled bitterly. When we first became desk mates, both Leo and I aimed at Harvard University as our ideal college. At that time, we made an agreement to meet at Harvard after the college entrance examination. Unfortunately, having fulfilled me, he would never be able to fulfill his dream in this life. He had long forgotten his original intention and deviated from the original path. Just as I was about to move forward, Ava suddenly rushed out from behind me and hooked her arm around Leo's, like a hen protecting its food. "Scarlett, I can see that after holding it in for more than a year, you've finally revealed your true colors and dared to try to steal my man." I gave them a mocking look and left with the words "crazy couple." I've heard that stupidity can be contagious. I don't want to be infected by it, because I still need to keep my wits about me for starting a business. More than half a month later, the results of the college entrance examination were announced. I got the best score in nearly a year. 680 points. I was sure to be admitted to Harvard. And Leo's score was only 5 points above the first batch admission line. Ava didn't even reach the undergraduate admission line. Later, the two of them applied to a university and a junior college in the province respectively. And I went back to the blessed land where my dream bloomed in the first place. On the day of the start of the school term, I met Caleb at the school gate. Just like in my previous life, he was wearing a white shirt, as handsome and gentle as he was back then. "Freshman, are you from the School of Computer Science?" Looking at his gentle and clean smile, my eyes suddenly welled up with tears. "Yes, Heather too. I'm Scarlett, a freshman from the School of Computer Science. My name is Caleb. I'm a junior. I'll take you to the dormitory building first." In my previous life, when I was starting a business, Caleb provided me with 500 Yuan in funding during my most difficult time. At that time, I naively thought that he just appreciated my abilities. But I didn't expect that he had already fallen in love with me. However, I was already in love with Leo at that time, so he could only pay attention to me secretly and offer me help. In my previous life, on the day of my burial, he stayed by my tombstone for a whole night. He said that what he regretted the most was that he was too cowardly to snatch me away. Instead, I was conspired against and killed by my husband and my own relatives. Later, in order to avenge me, Caleb brought down Leo's company and made him bear a large amount of debt. That night, when that familiar and tall figure appeared in the class, I learned that Caleb was our class supervisor. But in my previous life, I clearly got to know him in the professor's project team. The moment he came in, our eyes met. In those black eyes, there was an indelible tenderness and attachment hidden. This was definitely not the emotion one should have at the first meeting. I was in a trance throughout the class meeting. After the class meeting ended, I rushed out regardless of everything. Under the orange streetlight, Caleb's shadow was stretched very long, as if it had taken 4 seasons to meet me again. I ran up to him. It turned out that he was also waiting for me. "Caleb," I said slowly, my voice somewhat uncontrollably hoarse. Scarlett. I'm back. Caleb smiled with red eyes, seemingly aware that it was inappropriate. The hand that wanted to ruffle the top of my hair hung in mid my nasir. I saw the restraint in his eyes and took the initiative to lean my head towards his hand. In fact, after he took revenge on Leo, he died in a car accident by chance, on a rainy night. Until the last moment of his life, he was murmuring my name. And he was also reborn. If the first encounter in the previous life was the fate that played tricks on us, then the encounter in this life was his long-planned scheme. After recognizing Caleb, I spent 3 months actively pursuing him. And he couldn't wait to get a proper title for our relationship. Scarlett. I feel like you're not pursuing me, but torturing me. The smile he gave me carried a hint of helplessness and indulgence. But you secretly paid attention to me for 5 years in your previous life. I've only been pursuing you for 3 months. No matter how you look at it, you're the one at a loss. All right. And I'll just have to endure it a bit longer to fulfill your little wish. After saying that, I threw myself into Caleb's arms. I could never get enough of the lemon fragrance emanating from his body. Just as his palm caressed my cheek, I suddenly took a step back and bounced out of his arms. Oh. No. We're not boyfriend and girlfriend yet. We can't cuddle. Caleb sighed and forcefully pulled me into his arms. I'm the one being pursued. And I make the rules. From today on, I'm your boyfriend. 8 After being with Caleb, we studied and started a business at the same time. Because of the memories of the previous life, the whole process of starting a business was much easier. And we avoided many detours. After the company made its first profit, we invested in many blue ocean projects. In the next few years, we were sure to make a fortune. However, Ava's dream of becoming a rich lady never came true. Instead, she and Leo lived a life of hiding from place to place every day. It was said that in order to tie down Leo, this promising stock in advance, Ava even deliberately got herself pregnant. But the good times didn't last long. And the baby had a threatened miscarriage. In order to support Leo's business startup, she actually secretly sold the dowry that my mother received for her marriage. But the invested money was still wasted. After several failures, Leo also realized that he didn't have the potential to be a businessman or the talent for starting a business. And he almost gave up. But Ava didn't give up. In order to live a life of wealth and luxury, she dumped her wealthy second-generation boyfriend, returned to school, and lowered her stance to court the poor student she looked down on the most. How could she let Leo give up so easily? Desperate, she and Leo borrowed a large sum of online loans. But starting a business is never that easy. After the company went bankrupt, debt collectors came to their door every day to cause trouble. Ava and Leo were always under high pressure on the verge of collapse. One night, Ava called me. On the other end of the phone, she was crying. And there were also the sounds of hammers knocking on the door one after another. Scarlett. Can you please help me for the sake of me being your sister? I know you've made a lot of money. Please. Have some pity on me and Leo. In my previous life, she also played the victim in front of me. And then I softened my heart and provided her with a stable job and salary. But what happened? She became the venomous snake in the story of the farmer and the snake who bit the hand that fed her. Ava. My money didn't come easily either. I still have to pay my employees' salaries, make down payments, and pay for goods. Where do I have any spare money? I know you're angry that I stole Leo from you. If you want him now, I'll give him back to you immediately. Forget it. I don't have the habit of recycling trash. As for you, you seem to like using second-hand things. You went to so much trouble to snatch him away. How can you just give him up like that? You two are just made for each other and should stay together. My tone carried a hint of barely concealed mockery. The failure of Leo and Ava's business was not only due to their lack of ability but also because of my help in pushing things along. Even the frequency of the debt collectors' harassment at their door was instigated by me behind the scenes. I'm not the first love who repays kindness with kindness. I'm a poisonous rose full of thorns. These years of lying low and enduring were all for the sake of getting revenge. That day, After I hung up Ava's distress call, she and Leo were severely beaten by the debt collectors. And after being brutally beaten, Leo's personality changed drastically, and he took out his anger over the failure on Ava. "It's all your fault. You bitch. I told you I'm not cut out to be a boss. Why did you force me? My mother took out the money she saved for her old age for me. Are you satisfied? Why did you seduce me in the first place? I could have been admitted to a first-class university, just like Scarlett. But now I'm dragged down by you, and only got into an ordinary first-tier university. Do you think I don't know that you slut are trying to hook up with your ex-boyfriend again? Are you willing to lose all your dignity just for money?" Fists, kicks, head insults sigh, and insults rained down on Ava. This kind of life lasted for a while. Until one night, Ava couldn't take it anymore. After stabbing Leo to death, she hanged herself out of fear of punishment. I wasn't the least bit surprised by this result. They should savor the bitter fruit of their actions. And I, a flower that blooms in the mud, will bloom recklessly and unreservedly. My roommate who shared the apartment with me used my black card to give gifts to our leader and got promoted continuously. She wore my designer clothes, carried my Chanel bag, and often treated others. She became the person that all our colleagues in the company fawned over. However, I was wrongly accused of being greedy for money and stealing important company documents. And I ended up in prison. My elder brother pleaded for me everywhere. But he was framed and died with his eyes wide open, full of grievances. My maternal uncle took advantage of the situation and seized the family business. In 3 years, he firmly secured the position of the chairman and was doing very well. I was ignored in prison and finally died of depression. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the year when I came out to work carrying my brother on my back. It was my roommate's birthday. And she generously treated everyone. Each person got a menu of the 5-star hotel. Order whatever you like. I'll pay. Dozens of plates of dishes worth tens of thousands of yuan filled the table. Suddenly, my roommate had a stomachache and needed to go to the restroom. She ordered me in a commanding tone to hold her bag for her. I gave a devilish smile, secretly hid the black card in her bag, and pretended to have something urgent and left. All the people there couldn't pay for the meal even if they took off their pants. They were regarded as people who ate without paying and were detained in the police station. My roommate jumped up and down and made more than 100 phone calls. But all showed that no one answered because I had already turned off my phone and had a good night's sleep. "One Olivia. It's your birthday today. Why did she only give you a handmade doll? Isn't she your best friend? I think some poor person just doesn't want to spend money. It's a pity that Olivia has been so nice to her on weekdays." When I opened my eyes in a daze, these were the 2 harsh words I heard. Before I could figure out what was going on, Olivia took my hand and put on that extremely false smile in my memory. "Scarlett has just passed the probation period and doesn't have much money. As long as the thought is there, it's enough." I instinctively shook off her hand in disgust and looked at her in disbelief. I was actually reborn. Reborn in the year when I came out to do my internship carrying my brother on my back. Probably not expecting my abnormal behavior. A hint of harshness flashed in Olivia's eyes. And then she immediately put on a pitiful look. "Scarlett, I'm not blaming you for giving a cheap gift. Why are you angry?" A colleague beside me couldn't stand it anymore. Rolled her eyes at me. And even pushed me. "Scarlett, don't think you can bully Olivia just because she has a good temper. We won't stand for it. If you dare to bully Olivia again in the future, we'll report that you beat and scolded your colleagues. And you won't be able to stay in the company." A group of female colleagues surrounded me and criticized me arrogantly. Listening to those unpleasant voices, my eyes and brows were extremely cold. Since people want to be Olivia's lackeys, it's not good to stop them. I sneered contemptuously. "Go ahead. I'm not afraid at all. Having been reborn, I will never be as stupid as I was in my previous life and be dominated by Olivia. I will take back everything that belongs to me." When I was 20 years old, I went to an affiliated branch company of my family's business to do an internship, hoping to make a name for myself. I only brought 10,000 yuan with me when I came out, after deducting the living expenses. The remaining money was only enough to share an apartment with Olivia. At first, she was very enthusiastic. I was naive and innocent when I first entered society and didn't understand the sinister nature of people. I regarded her as my best friend. I taught her all kinds of interview skills and took her to the internship together. After my elder brother knew that I was in a difficult financial situation, he was afraid of hurting my pride and secretly gave Olivia a black card, asking her to improve my living conditions. But I didn't know anything about it. I thought that my poor roommate could suddenly afford designer bags and even treat others to meals because, like me, she also had a brother who could make money. I worked hard to expand the company's business. But it was not as good as the few bottles of expensive red wine that Olivia gave to the general manager. I tried my best to please my colleagues, helped with printing documents and making PPTs. But it was not as effective as a meal treated by Olivia. In the end, she was promoted step by step, and I was almost fired. I even thought it was my own problem. But when I thought about it carefully, how could a person who couldn't even write a cooperation plan have the ability to become the secretary of the company's president? I gradually drifted apart from Olivia. But one day, she suddenly came to me and asked me to cover a shift for her. I smelled a strange fragrance in the middle of the night, and I fell asleep in a daze. The next day, I was publicly reported by Olivia for stealing the company's confidential documents. I ended up in prison. Olivia came to visit me once and told me everything, as well as what had happened outside. She had a beaming smile and mocked me. Your brother went to the sea to feed the sharks for you. He's already dead. Your uncle took over the company and announced to the public that he would expel you, his convict niece, from the family. Oh. Right. I forgot to tell you. You should call me Aunt now. I tried to strangle her neck hysterically, but was pulled away by the prison guards. I could only watch Olivia's triumphant back in despair. In prison, I held my breath and wanted to wait until I was released after serving my sentence and go out to take revenge on those people. But I died in prison. This time, I will make all those who bullied me pay the price. Olivia started to play the role of a peacemaker again and stood between me and my colleagues. We're all in the same company. Harmony brings wealth. Don't quarrel anymore. Scarlett, don't be angry. I really like your gift and I don't dislike it at all. When I heard this, a mocking smile appeared on my face. Olivia said she liked it. But behind my back, she threw the doll I gave her into the trash can and complained that I was stingy. What she didn't know was that I used to give designer necklaces casually as gifts. If I didn't truly regard her as a friend, how could I have made a gift with my own hands? I pretended to have calmed down and sighed as long as you know my thought. After all, the good show is yet to come. And I can't break up with her at this moment. So Olivia happily announced to everyone it's my birthday today. I've already booked a hotel. We'll go there after work. It's on me. Everyone cheered merrily and wished her a happy birthday. I opened my phone and sent a message to my elder brother, whom I hadn't contacted for months. Brother, I'm almost out of money for food. Woo woo woo. In my previous life, I had a quarrel with my elder brother and came out to work. I was so stubborn that I didn't contact him, even in the most difficult days. I would rather drink plain water and eat steamed buns than ask him for help. So he never knew that Olivia had embezzled the black card and thought that I was living a good life, eating and drinking well every day. It was only when something happened that my elder brother noticed something was wrong. But it was already too late. He was always calm. I guess he was so worried about me that he accidentally fell into someone else's trap. We didn't even get to see each other for the last time. I suddenly felt a little sad and raised my hand to wipe the tears from my moist eyes. Brother, I'm no longer the willful little girl I used to be. This time, let me protect you. For after work, everyone went home to change their clothes, saying that since it was Olivia's birthday party, of course, they had to dress up grandly. Olivia picked a blue dress that wasn't very eye-catching for me and pointed at another gorgeous and bright burgundy dress, saying, Scarlett, this one is a matching outfit for best friends with mine. Will you wear it with me? I looked at the two dresses. They couldn't be said to be identical. They were simply completely different. I scolded myself for being so stupid before. How could I have believed this in my previous life? Olivia was fairly good minus looking. But she was far from being as beautiful as me. At first, many male colleagues in the company had a crush on me. They would bring me tea, pour water for me, and send me flowers. I believed Olivia's words, and thought that these people had bad intentions. I scolded them so harshly that I got a reputation as a shrew. At that time, I didn't dare to scold people at all. If it wasn't for Olivia's strong request, I wouldn't have said those words. Later, she said that cosmetics were bad for the skin and, under the guise of being good for me, wouldn't let me use them. But she herself would get up early every day to put on a light makeup that I couldn't even notice. She also told me that girls should dress more modestly when they were outside, so as not to be targeted by others. So I wrapped myself up tightly every day and dressed like a square minus dancing ant. On the contrary, she spent the money from the black card on beauty treatments every night but lied to me that she was doing part minus time jobs. I averted my gaze and said directly I don't like it. I have my own clothes. Before Olivia could persuade me earnestly, I had already closed the door and sat in front of the mirror to put on makeup. When I came out, I didn't bring many other things. But I brought several boxes of clothes and bags, which I had never taken out. I opened the box and took out the high minus and customized dress I wore on my birthday before. The burgundy strapless long dress made my skin look even fairer. Looking at the mirror, I put on a heavy makeup for myself. With thick lips, thick eyebrows, and long eyelashes. It was a strong and capable woman style that Olivia couldn't pull off. They are both red. Let's see who is more naturally beautiful. 5. When Olivia saw me, her face turned extremely ugly, and she couldn't help but speak out to criticize me. Scarlett, have you forgotten what I told you? You can't dress like this outside. I interrupted her and refuted her with her own reason. But I think this one looks more like a matching outfit for best friends with yours. And today is your birthday. I want to make an exception and not leave any regrets. What a touching sisterly bond. Isn't she the one who loves to act like this the most? Olivia gritted her teeth and forced a smile. But I'm more concerned about your safety. What if you're targeted by a pervert on the way? That's nonsense. I pretended to be in a dilemma and said there's not enough time. Let's just leave it like this. Besides, you'll protect me. I endured the nausea and took her hand and went out. I even ordered the car in advance, just in case she would change her mind. Sitting in the car on the way to the hotel, Olivia looked at me as if she wanted to kill me. I pretended not to see it and enjoyed the scenery along the road with a pleasant mood. When we arrived at the place, all the colleagues were waiting at the hotel entrance. The number of people was quite spectacular. Olivia rushed out of the car, afraid that I would steal her thunder. I walked over slowly and heard a burst of exclamations. However, they weren't cheering for me. Everyone's eyes were focused on Olivia, and they completely forgot about me, the great beauty standing beside her. Olivia, you're so beautiful today. She truly deserves to be called the flower of our company. If I were a man, I'd be head over heels in love with you. Those flattering words made me want to laugh. Olivia did look somewhat pretty after dressing up, but it wasn't that exaggerated. Most of the people who praised her did so because of her generosity. Everyone guessed that since Olivia was so generous, she must be a young lady from a wealthy family who came out to gain experience, and they wanted to curry favor with her. Olivia lowered her head shyly. It's not like that at that moment. I coughed to make everyone aware of my presence. Olivia, shouldn't we go in? We're blocking the way. All eyes turned to me, and most of the expressions were ones of shock. Are you Scarlett? I nodded with a smile. The male colleagues' eyes became rather subtle, while the female colleagues murmured in low voices. What's she doing dressing up so I minus sketching lie at Olivia's birthday party? She's trying to steal the limelight. Exactly. She must be jealous of Olivia's wealth. Wasn't this an indirect admission that I was more good minus looking than Olivia? Olivia's face darkened, and she forced a smile. Let's all go in. 6. After we were seated, Olivia urged everyone to order food and waved her hand grandly. Order whatever you like. Only at this moment did she feel like she was on top of the world. And in her own perception, She seemed to be a bit superior to me. Olivia is so generous. Unlike some stingy poor people who can't even afford to give a decent gift. I wasn't bothered at all by being scolded behind my back like this. There was a burning gaze cast towards me from the side. I pretended to look back casually and smiled, causing that person to be stunned. Olivia noticed this and, with an ugly expression on her face, asked to switch seats with me. After sitting next to Ryan, she gave him a glare. I watched all this silently and curled my lips into a smile. Ryan was the most handsome among the male colleagues in the company, and also the best at making girls happy. I heard that he was the son of the company's chairman Henry. On the first day I joined the company, he asked me under various pretexts. Later, when I dressed more modestly, I no longer had that problem. He soon set his sights on Olivia, picked her up and dropped her off at work every day, sent her flowers every now and then. And 3 months later, they got together as a matter of course. Calculating the time, the two of them were probably just one step away from officially announcing their relationship. But what if something went wrong in the middle? I deliberately egged on and asked Ryan, you two are so lovey-minus, are they now that you even want to sit together during meals? Aren't you embarrassed? The other colleagues also knew about their relationship and joined me in teasing them. Olivia lowered her head shyly. Scarlett, what are you talking about? We're just friends. Ryan's face didn't look too good, and he moved his chair a bit to the side. We're all colleagues. Stop making a fuss. Instantly, Olivia looked astonishment, and the people who were teasing fell silent. The air was filled with an awkward silence. I chuckled softly to myself. It seemed that I didn't need to do anything. Just standing there. Some people had already lost. 7/2 of the dishes had been served when Olivia suddenly said she had a stomachache and dragged me to accompany her to the restroom. When we got to the restroom, she closed the door and with tears in her eyes, she questioned me. Scarlett, do you like Ryan? A smooth minus talking boy like cry and didn't even meet my minimum standards. However, how could I let Olivia feel at ease? I acted coyly, turned my head away, pretended to blush, and whispered no. Her expression immediately turned terrifying. But she didn't explode. Instead, she looked at me with concern in her eyes and said, Scarlett, it's good that you don't like him. Ryan isn't a good person. I nodded, took the bag from her hand, and pushed her into the restroom cubicle. Hurry up. Everyone is waiting. Such a hasty action, in Olivia's eyes, was a sign of avoidance. She must have thought that I had fallen for Ryan but was too embarrassed to admit it. As soon as the door closed, I immediately rummaged through her bag, took out the black card, and stuffed it into my own bag. After a while, Olivia came out with a dark face and said, let's go. But I suddenly clutched my stomach and wore a pained expression. Olivia, I think my period has come. I feel so uncomfortable. I hinted. Disgust flashed in her eyes. But she immediately pretended to care about me. Are you okay? Do you want me to send you home? I shook my head. No need. I'll take a taxi home by myself. Until the end, I still had an expression of guilt and regret on my face. Sorry, Olivia. I can't attend your birthday party today. Olivia said she was sorry on the surface, but I bet she was overjoyed inside. Not only would I not steal her thunder, but I wouldn't get in the way of her flirting with Ryan either. I didn't say goodbye to my colleagues and left the hotel directly. When I got back to the rental house and turned on my phone, it showed that I had 2 unread WeChat messages. One was from my elder brother. He directly transferred 20 yuan to me. Come home and have a look when you have time. If you need more money, just ask your brother for it. My nose suddenly felt a bit sour. I clicked to accept the money and replied to him, okay. I love you the most, brother. The other message was from Ryan. Are you sick? How are you feeling now? I replied casually, I'm just feeling a bit uncomfortable. After thinking for a while, I added, take good care of Olivia. Don't let her down. He quickly explained, Scarlett, my relationship with Olivia isn't what you think. I sneered softly, pretended not to see it, turned off my phone, took a shower, and then lay on the soft big bed and slept soundly until dawn. Early the next morning, I was awakened by a knock on the door. I yawned and went to open the door. I saw Olivia with a smudged makeup on her face and her hair in a mess, looking extremely disheveled. She must have come to confront me without having time to tidy herself up. I pretended to be surprised and asked Olivia, "What's wrong?" She probably couldn't stand it anymore. She rushed into my room hysterically and rummaged around everywhere. "Where's my black card? Did you take my card?" Since I was the only one who had touched that bag yesterday, Olivia naturally suspected me. But she wouldn't find anything because I had already put that card under the bed in her room. When they found out the reason, I could only blame her for being careless and leaving the card at home. I pretended not to know anything and frowned. "What card?" Realizing that she almost revealed something, Olivia quickly stopped talking. "Nothing. I'm looking for my medical insurance card." She still didn't give up and searched in my room for nearly half an hour. I remained silent. When she came out, she looked rather aggrieved. "Olivia, do you not trust me? How could I take your things? If you don't trust me, then I'll go back home and live there." Olivia forced a smile at me and said through gritted teeth, "How could that be? I was just worried that I left it in your room. If I went back home to live at this moment, my elder brother would surely take back that black card. So of course Olivia had to stop me." She went back to her room, and I heard the sound of her rummaging through the boxes and cabinets outside. I guessed she had searched the whole room. 10 minutes later, Olivia came out carrying her bag. She put on a satisfied expression and handed me 500 yuan. "Go to the supermarket downstairs and buy me some delicious food." Was this to make amends for not being able to treat everyone to a meal yesterday? I sneered. Without that black card, Olivia couldn't afford the expenses of the 5-star luxury hotel. In the end, everyone would naturally have to split the bill. Losing so much money for no reason. Olivia must have been severely scolded by everyone. But I didn't expect that the truth was even worse than that. 9. When I got to the company, I could feel a strong sense of resentment, almost all of which was directed at the person next to me. According to the colleagues who didn't go to the dinner party, just the dishes on that table cost over 200 yuan yesterday. Plus the service fee and the private room fee, it was estimated to be around 300 yuan. We were all college students who had just started our internships. Even if we pooled our money together, we couldn't raise that much. In the end, they were reported for dining and dashing and were detained in the nearby police station. It was their respective parents who bailed them out and paid double the amount of money before they were released. Only then did everyone know that Ryan was just the son of a supermarket owner and liked to pretend to be a wealthy person on a daily basis. Olivia had to apologize to everyone one by one and distributed snacks to them. Tens of thousands of yuan were gone just like that, which was several months' worth of salary. How could a few bags of snacks make up for it? Some people were about to lose their temper. But Olivia quickly waved her phone and said, "Sorry. I left my card at home yesterday." "How much money did you spend?" "I'll compensate you double." Before coming to the company, I saw Olivia go to the bank opposite with that black card. I guessed she had transferred a lot of money to her phone. The colleagues who were good at changing their attitudes according to the situation immediately put on smiling faces and rushed to ask for the money one by one. After everyone received double compensation, some people started to gossip. "Olivia, your card was clearly in your bag. How could it be left at home?" "I'm afraid that some people were jealous of you and secretly took the card to embarrass you." The person who spoke looked at me, and it was almost like naming me as the one who stole the card. Olivia didn't say anything, but someone helped her analyze it slowly. "Who touched your bag that day?" "It seems to be only Scarlett." "Right?" Olivia said in a weak voice. "Scarlett did take it. But how could she take my card?" No, she couldn't have. No, she couldn't have." By the end, her tone was one of not even believing herself. In the eyes of other colleagues, it seemed like she was showing how sad she was about being betrayed by a good friend. Before anything was even proven, some people were already eager to convict me. "Scarlett, you're really despicable. You actually stole Olivia's card." I had already expected this kind of backstabbing. I had already prepared my tears and emotions. And suddenly I started to sob. With tears in my eyes. I looked so pitiful. I didn't know Olivia had this card. Olivia was stunned. She didn't expect me to cry so miserably. In the past, if someone accused me wrongly, I would just be anxious and unable to defend myself. Just like a thief caught red-handed. But today, as soon as I started crying, many people began to hesitate. Are we being too harsh? Especially Ryan. He threw the work document on the table, and a heavy snore echoed in the office. Okay. Everyone. Calm down. Do you still want to work? Scarlett was sick last night. And we don't even know if she's recovered yet. After saying that, he stood up and blocked me from Olivia's jealous gaze. Olivia. Since you found your card, it's all well and good. There's no need to be so aggressive. Olivia's face darkened even more. Ryan wasn't from a wealthy family. She had indeed misjudged him. But he was handsome and good at charming people. The relationship that had been in an ambiguous state for a month couldn't be given up so easily. Moreover, most of the colleagues had already tacitly accepted that the two of them were a couple. Now that Ryan was speaking up for me, it was like slapping Olivia in the face. She was so angry that she was on the verge of crying. She threw the snacks on the ground and ran into the restroom. From then on, Ryan started to pursue me. All the special favors that used to belong to Olivia were now given to me. And it was even more excessive than before. I always gave him perfunctory responses, being sometimes cold and sometimes warm. At first, Olivia was sad and heartbroken. Every time she saw Ryan flirting with me, I could feel her overwhelming resentment. But later, I guess she found a new love interest. She didn't even give Ryan a single glance and instead kept giggling at her phone. Sometimes, when I accidentally saw her chat screen, I saw the explicit photos she sent to the other person. I clicked on the profile picture of my maternal uncle on WeChat. And sure enough, it was the same person she was chatting with. In my previous life, I didn't know how the two of them got together. It turned out that they met online. My maternal uncle, that old man, liked to flirt with young girls. Some time ago, there was even a scandal about his involvement in pornographic activities. And he almost ended up in jail. Chat away. Birds of a feather flock together. In the end, neither of them will end up well. 11 Probably because my elder brother had secretly warned Olivia. She had been much more generous to me recently. She bought me bags and clothes and even didn't ask me to pay the rent for the shared apartment. Actually, my elder brother could have just told me about the black card. Having been reborn, I'm no longer as stubborn as before, enduring hardships just for the sake of face. With such a great elder brother as my backer, why not make use of it? While watching Olivia reluctantly trying to please me, I complained to my elder brother. I really don't like my current roommate at all. She has such a bad temper. The next day, Olivia had a long face and asked me if there was anything she had done wrong. I covered my mouth and snickered no. There isn't. So she could only find various ways to take on the household chores, and was exhausted every day like a dog. Even in the company. She didn't dare to make me unhappy, and was extremely respectful to me. My colleagues thought I was bullying her. But instead, she spoke up for me and offended several people. There was no way around it. She had to make me happy. Olivia could only complain to my maternal uncle on her phone in the middle of the night about all these grievances. When I went to the restroom at night and heard her extremely coquettish voice, I almost threw up. It doesn't matter. In a few months, it will all be over. When I take the photos of Olivia bribing the manager of the Human Resources Department and record her with them, she will be completely finished. But I didn't expect that after changing the original course of events, Olivia would act so quickly. On the 10th day of my rebirth, the news of her imminent promotion spread throughout the company. Looking at Olivia's confident expression, it seemed that it was a sure thing. My elder brother managed the company's system strictly and would never allow such a thing to happen. However, there were so many subsidiary companies, and it was difficult to keep an eye on everything. It was inevitable that some people would embezzle public funds and engage in nepotism. The good show was coming to an end soon, and I felt a bit regretful. I hadn't enjoyed enough of the days when Olivia waited on me. 12 that day. Olivia said she was going out to have a meal with a friend and wouldn't take me. I guessed what she was up to and secretly put a bug in her clothes pocket. The entire process of Olivia bribing the manager of the Human Resources Department was recorded in detail. I handed over the evidence to the police. And the next day, some officers came to the company to arrest her. At first, some people laughed and said, "Could it be that they're here to arrest Scarlett? Did she try to steal the card last time but failed and then stole something from someone else and got caught?" I silently looked at Olivia. She didn't seem nervous at all. After all, the act of secretly giving money was so covert. How could it be discovered all of a sudden? When she was being taken away by the police, she kept struggling. "Officer, I'm innocent." My colleagues looked at each other in dismay and whispered among themselves. Everyone had heard what the police said. Olivia was being arrested because of bribing the general manager. Some people were unconvinced. Olivia is a young lady from a wealthy family. She could get any position she wanted. Why would she need to bribe someone? Yeah. I think someone must be jealous of her and reported her maliciously. They were still being stubborn at this moment. If the police didn't have solid evidence, how could they arrest someone out of the blue? Taking this opportunity, having fulfilled my adsi, I anonymously sent the chat records between Olivia and my maternal uncle to the company's QQ group. The company was in an uproar. So she's so rich because she's being kept by an old man? How much does she charge for a night? Olivia has such big expenses usually. Olivia was really pitiful. She had been so kind to these people before. But when something bad happened to her, they all turned against her. It was all her own doing. As for those who had gossiped about me behind my back, they wouldn't end up well either. 13 in the end, Olivia was given a heavier punishment for offering bribes in order to seek career promotion, and the large amount of money involved. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison. The general manager of the Human Resources Department received the same punishment. The company underwent rectification as a result, and many irregularities were discovered. Several people were transferred to other positions or isolated. During that period, everyone was on edge, working conscientiously and not daring to slack off. After getting a strict boss, I became more and more motivated instead. 3 months later, I was promoted to the team leader and became the person that everyone tried to curry favor with. I ignored them all, and rumors spread that I was aloof and liked to show off. Some people even pointed fingers and said that since I was promoted so quickly, I might have bribed someone just like Olivia. However, everyone would soon realize that I didn't need to bribe anyone at all to have everything. 14 After 5 months, I finally went back home. I wanted to give my elder brother a surprise. So I didn't tell him in advance and prepared a table of food. When my elder brother came back and saw me sitting at the table waiting for him to have a meal, his eyes became moist. "Scarlett. You." In the end, he didn't say anything to blame me. Instead, he hugged me and said, "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back." For my elder brother, we had only been apart for 5 months. But for me, it felt like a lifetime. I originally wanted to happily tell my elder brother that Scarlett had grown up. But in the end, all the words turned into grievances in my heart, and I couldn't help but start sobbing. My elder brother was a bit at a loss and asked worriedly, "What's wrong with our Scarlett? Did you suffer any grievances outside?" I shook my head. My eyes read, "I missed you, brother. I shouldn't have gone out for an internship secretly without telling you. It was my fault." I poured out all the words that I hadn't had the chance to say in my previous life in one breath. I choked on my saliva and started coughing. My elder brother patted my back lovingly while comforting me. "Brother doesn't blame you." Yes. He would never blame me for anything I did wrong. Even when I was reported for betraying the company's documents, he stood by my side unconditionally. I will cherish this. 15 The day after I got home, my maternal uncle came to visit. He rubbed his chubby hands and said with a playful smile, "Miss, your uncle needs some funds for starting a business. Since you're not short of money, why don't you lend me some? I've made full preparations this time and will definitely succeed. Actually, My elder brother was firm-minded and generally wouldn't agree to this request from my maternal uncle. What's more, when my parents died in a car accident and my elder brother just took over the company, my maternal uncle had even caused trouble in the company in order to get a share of the profits. But unfortunately, in my previous life, I didn't see people clearly. My uncle had always used things to coax me since I was a child. So when he came to ask my elder brother for money, I chimed in and said that we were all family and it would be better to lend him the money. My elder brother listened to me the most, afraid that I would make a fuss. He lent out 10 million yuan at once. 10 million yuan wasn't a big deal for my elder brother. But I just didn't want my maternal uncle to have his way. Since he could get involved with someone like Olivia. He wasn't a good person either. Seeing that my elder brother was about to refuse, my maternal uncle gave me a meaningful look. I pretended not to see it and analyzed it seriously. Uncle, how much money have you lost in your business ventures? You can't always ask my brother to cover the losses. Can you? Now that I'm out working, I finally understand how hard it is to earn money. My brother's money didn't come out of thin air. My elder brother was shocked. He didn't expect me to be so sensible and understand the pros and cons. My maternal uncle looked embarrassed and still wanted to plead for mercy. I retorted, if you're really confident about starting a business, why don't you mortgage your house? After all, you said you will definitely make money. Right? Actually, my lazy and gluttonous maternal uncle didn't have the ability to start a business at all. He borrowed money just to pay off his debts and had come to ask for money several times later. He shot himself in the foot, blushed with embarrassment, and still had nothing to say. In the end, he left with a dark face. My elder brother smiled and touched my head. Our Scarlett is so sensible. 16 On the third day of my rest at home, I discussed with my elder brother about giving me one of the subsidiary companies under his management, so that I could gain some experience and learn about management. After struggling in the company for many years and being influenced by my elder brother, I have already mastered about 7 or 8 out of 10 aspects of management. I specifically asked my elder brother for the company where I had my internship before. Before going for an inspection, messages in the group were spreading that Scarlett, the daughter of a wealthy family, was going to visit the company and everyone should be well-prepared. Ryan sent a message asking, why haven't you been around these days? Are you sick? I had been leading him on for several months. And I had had enough of playing with him. I replied to him, you're not worthy of this young lady. Don't bother me anymore. After sending this message, I clicked the delete button. I guess Ryan on the other side would be so angry that he might want to smash his phone when he saw the red exclamation mark. On the day of my official appointment, all my colleagues dressed very formally and greeted me with big smiles. However, the moment they saw me walking over, they all stood there stunned, even forgetting to clap. There were also a few people with complicated expressions. They couldn't believe that the legendary Scarlett, the daughter of a wealthy family, was actually me. I deliberately glanced at those who usually liked to gossip about me and smiled meaningfully. They trembled and averted their eyes, not daring to meet my gaze. I sneered and said, don't be nervous, everyone. Since we're colleagues, as long as you work hard, I will never make things difficult for anyone. This starting remark made everyone feel uneasy. I had noticed that many people had been slacking off at work before. The next day, hadn't fulfilled my stay. I fired those people. They all came to apologize to me with long faces, hoping that I would show mercy for the sake of our past colleagueship. Naturally, I was impartial. Even in front of them, I announced to all my colleagues, on the first day of my appointment, I'll treat everyone to a meal. It was a way to strike at their hearts. 17 When it was time to pay the bill, I deliberately took out that black card which had been occupied by Olivia. That black card had a special craftsmanship, and Olivia loved to show off in front of these people. Soon, later, sorry. Someone with sharp eyes recognized it. Isn't this Olivia's? Before the person could finish the sentence, everyone reacted. So that black card of Olivia's actually belongs to you, Scarlett. Why didn't you say so earlier? I sighed and said, my elder brother asked her to pass the card to me. Who would have thought that she would keep it for herself? Olivia, who was in prison, was once again criticized by everyone. Olivia is really not a good person. She'd better stay in prison for the rest of her life. Of course, it's impossible for her to stay in prison for a lifetime. But what if she commits some other crimes? When people are cornered, they always become crazy. I still have some grudges to avenge. And things won't end so simply. 7 years later, I became my elder brother's right-hand assistant. I not only managed my elder brother's company in an orderly manner but also started my own entertainment business, which was booming. My maternal uncle had been hiding and evading for 7 years because he couldn't repay his debts. He came to me to plead for mercy several times, but I refused him mercilessly. Olivia was released after serving her sentence. With a criminal record, she couldn't find a job and was just relying on her parents and waiting to die. I specially held a birthday banquet and invited all my colleagues from that internship, including Olivia. I just wanted her to see how glorious I am now and how pathetic and ridiculous she is. On the day of the birthday banquet, Olivia almost couldn't get in because she was dressed too shabbily. Several colleagues gathered around and laughed loudly. The way they had kicked me when I was down many years ago was now, ironically, transferred to Olivia. If I were her, I wouldn't come at all. I couldn't bear the shame. Olivia stood in the crowd, staring at me on the stage with resentment in her eyes, as if she was jealous and asking why I could mime so well. I gave her a contemptuous look in return. She could actually endure it. First, she apologized. And then she pulled me into the room to catch up. Naturally, she took a sip of the wine mixed with medicinal herbs. Where Olivia couldn't see, I spat out the wine and pretended to faint. Immediately, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. Several people stuffed me into a bag. Right after Olivia was released from prison, I had some people keep an eye on her, just to push her to a dead end and make her come and beg me. Unexpectedly, she couldn't wait to contact my maternal uncle. The two of them plotted together and actually wanted to kidnap me. And I decided to play along and let this crime be established. They had a smooth journey on the way, and half of it was due to my deliberate leniency. They didn't know that the security guards had already called the police. When they arrived at the place, Olivia splashed water on me to wake me up. She viciously wanted to torture me. Just as she was about to call my elder brother to ask for money, the sound of police sirens suddenly rang out outside. When the police came in, she panicked and took out the fruit knife she had on her, putting it against my neck, wanting to die together with me. Go to hell. If I can't lie well, neither can you. I pretended to be weak, kicked her in return, and grabbed her hand. The knife fell to the ground, and the police rushed forward and subdued her. When I opened my eyes in a daze, these were the two harsh words I heard. Brother. I hired the best lawyer and wanted Olivia to be sentenced to the heaviest punishment. In my previous life, I had a positive attitude in prison and should have been given a lighter sentence. But Olivia meddled in it and made me stay in prison for half of my life before I could get out. I will definitely return the favor she did to me. In the end, she was sentenced to life imprisonment for kidnapping and attempted murder. My maternal uncle, as an accomplice, was also given a heavy punishment and sentenced to 30 years in prison. The prison bully who had bullied me in my previous life was also released around the same time. After dealing with Olivia's matter, I had someone investigate her. She had been outspoken in prison and often revealed some details of criminal processes. With the clues I provided, the murder case that happened 20 years ago was solved. The prison bully was originally sentenced to only 10 years. But now she would be executed. I heard that she and Olivia were in the same cell and they couldn't stand each other and had a big fight. Naturally, Olivia was no match for a murderer and was beaten until she was on the verge of death. She died a few days later. My elder brother successfully avoided the fate of going to the sea and being eaten by sharks in his previous life. He got married, had children, and lived out the rest of his life in peace. And I had been very successful in this life. The entertainment company under my name has become the biggest brand in China. And I have become a role model for the younger generation in people's mouths.